Good day, everyone, and good day, class. For the continuation of our last discussion, today I'm going to tackle what is medical evidence, the definition of evidence, the different types of medical evidence, and also the medical legal aspect of identification. So to start our discussions, we will going to define the word evidence. So evidence is the means sanctioned by the rules of court of ascertaining in a judicial proceeding the truth respecting a matter of fact. Under Rules of Court, Section 1, Rule 128. And if the means employed to prove a fact is medical in nature, then it becomes a medical evidence. So we have the different types of medical evidence. The first one is the autoptic evidence. So autoptic evidence is an evidence which known or addressed to the senses of court, and it is not limited to that which is known through the sense of vision, but it is extended to what the sense of hearing, taste, and smell and touch is perceived. And take note that when we say autoptic evidence, it is also known as the real, object, and physical evidence. So, whenever an object has such relations to the fact in issue as to afford a really reasonable ground of belief respecting the latter, such object may be exhibited to or viewed by the court, or its existence, situation, conditions, or character proved by witnesses, as the court in this discretion may be determined. Under Section 1, Rule 130, Rules of Court. For example, the court may require the physicians to present the skeleton of the victim of a criminal act exhumed and examine for the judge to see the presence and degree of the antemortem fracture. So next we have the other type of medical evidence, which is the testimonial evidence. So testimonial evidence, a physician may be commanded to appear before a court to give his testimony while in the witness stand, and he is obliged to answer questions provided by counsel and presiding officer of the court. His testimony must be given orally and under oath or affirmation. And take note that all witnesses can be testified only to those facts which he or she knows of his personal knowledge. So when we say personal knowledge, it is derived from his own or her own perceptions. That this means that hearsay information, as a general rule, are not admissible in the court. So what is hearsay evidence? So hearsay evidence are those not proceeding from the personal knowledge of the witness, but from mere repetitions of what he has heard to others. And it is also known or called as the second-hand evidence, which is rests mainly on the veracity and competence of its source, which is defined under the Rules of Court, Section 36, Rule 130. So, it must be stressed further that dying declaration is the exemption, or it is the one of the exemptions to the hearsay rule. And physicians are frequent recipient of dying declarations, mostly in the medical clinics and emergency room of hospital. And take note that physicians may be presented in court as an ordinary witness or as an expert witness. So, what are or the distinction between an ordinary witness and an expert witness? So when we say ordinary witness, a physician who testify in court on matters perceived from his patient in the course of physician and patient relationship. It is the exemption of the privilege of communication between physician and patient under Section 24, Rule 130. So when we say an expert witness naman, uh, a physician on account of his training and experience can give his opinion on a set of medical facts, and he can deduce or infer something, determine the cause of death, or render opinion pertinent to the issue and medical in nature. So the third one, we have the experimental evidence. So when we say experimental evidence, a medical witness may be allowed by the court to confirm his allegation or as a corroborative proof to an opinion he previously stated in full view of the court. So, for example, the issue is to how long a person can survive after the administration of little dose of poisons can be shown by the administration of the said poisons to experimental animals. So ano ba yung mga different or sample natin ng mga experimental animals? We have the guinea pigs, the rabbit, and other more. So the experiment must be done in the view of the court. So and take note that in the full view of court, we are not necessarily means that the experimentation must be conducted in court. This means that the conduct of the experiment should be with the presence of the judge. So next, the four types of medical evidence. We have the documentary evidence. So documentary evidence, it is the written evidence presented to the court by the expert witness about the subject matter in dispute. So take note that when we say a documentary, we are referring to an instrument on which it is recorded by means of letter, figures, or marks intended to be used for the purpose of recording the matters which may be evidentially used. And the terms apply to writings, to word printed, lithograph or photographs, to seal, plates, or stones on which inscriptions are cut or engraved, to photographs and pictures, to maps or to plans, which is defined under Black's Law Dictionary on its 4th edition. So next, we have the example of medical documentary evidence. So under the medical certification of report, we have the medical examination. We have the medical examination report. So when we say medical examination report, these are the report or result of examination in respect of health conditions of a patient by a duty licensed physicians. So it must be conducted by a licensed physicians. So next we have a physical examination report. And next we have the necropsy or autopsy report, or which are also known as the post-mortem examinations. So when we say autopsy report, it is the medical procedure that conducted the examinations of the dead body. So the next one, we have the laboratory report and we have the exhumation report. When we say exhume or exhumation, it is a digging up or something varied, especially is the corpse or a dead body. So the other one is the last two is the birth certificate and the death certificate. So what is medical expert opinion? So when we say medical expert opinion, This refers to the testimony of a physician on account of his training and expertise can give his own opinion on set of medical facts. Next, we have also the deposition. So the deposition is the testimony of witness taken upon oral questions or even a written interrogatories, not in open court, but in a pursuance of a commission to take testimony issued by a court or under a general law or court rule on the subject and reduced to writing and duly authenticated, and it is intended to be used in preparation and upon the trial of a civil actions or criminal prosecutions, which is also defined by Black Law Dictionary in its 6 editions. So next we have the medical legal aspect of identification. So when we say identification, it is the recognition of an individual's to determine by characteristics which is distinguish that individuals from all others. And the importance of identification of person is the first one is to establish the identity of offenders and that of the victim in the prosecutions of criminal offense. Otherwise, it will be a ground for the dismissal of the charge or acquittal of the accused. So the second one is to identify a person missing or presumed dead in order to facilitate the settlement of the state's retirement insurance and other social benefits. And it vests on the heirs to right over the properties of the identified persons. So next we have the rules in personal identifications. So rules in personal identification, the first one is the greater the number of points of similarities and the similarities of two persons conferred, the greater is the probability for the conclusion to be correct. So, and take note that on the first rule that it is also known as the law of multiplicity of evidence in identification. So the next one is the value of different points of identification varies in the formulations of conclusions. So for example, in a fresh cadaver, if the fingerprints on the file are the same as those recorded from the crime scenes, they will possibly establish the identity of the persons, while body marks like moles, scars, complexions complexions, shape of nose, and etc. Are merely corroborative. And distal recognitions by relative or friends may be lesser value as compared with fingerprints or dental comparison. So next we have method of identifications. So the first one is by comparison. When we say by comparison, identifications criteria recovered during investigations are compared with record available in the file, or post-mortem findings are compared with ante-mortem records. So for example, we have a latent fingerprints recovered for the crime scenes are compared with the fingerprints on the file of an investigating agency. So, ano ba yung mga investigating agency natin dito na may record tayo ng mga fingerprints? So, una na dyan yung ating police stations and also the NBI. So, sila yung mga investigating agency natin na may record mga fingerprints ng iba't ibang citizens ng Pilipinas. So, the second one is dental findings on the skeletal remains are compared with the dental record of the person in possession of the dentist. So next we have the by exclusions. When we say by exclusion, if two or more persons have identified and all but one is not yet identified, then the one whose identity has not been established may be known by the process of eliminations. So kung yung isa is hindi pa ma-identified yung personality niya or yung identity niya, so we can apply the process of elimination para maging narrow yung investigation natin. So the next one is the ordinary method of identifications. Points of identifications applicable to a living persons. So the first one is the characteristic which may easily be changed. Number one is the growth of hair, beards, and mustache. So paano ba to? So when we say growth of hair, beard, and mustache, this may be easily be shaved. So lalo na yung mga hair natin, it can be easily shaved or cut, di ba? Or grown within a short of time. Arrangement may be changed artificially here, yan, by applying different colors or wearing yung mga wig, di ba? So, it may be worth or ornamentations may be placed to change its natural conditions, which is one is growth of hair, beards, and mustache na madaling baguhin. So, the next one is clothing. So, when we say clothing, a person may have a special preference for certain form or textures or style. So, meron tayong mga tinatawag na mga old-fashioned persons na may hilig na magsuot ng halos covered na yung buong katawan. So, for example, sa mga kapatid natin na mga Muslimers, nilang preferred na damit na sinusuot. So, sa mga iba naman, sa other place, meron silang preferred na clothes na sinusuot, which can be easily identified. So, for example, nito is yung a certain group of people are required to have a specific cut, color, design as a uniform worn by students, employees of commercial or industrial establishment or group of professional, which is true. Pag nurse ka or doctor ka, what usually na sinusuot is a pure white. So, sa different establishment, meron silang prescribed uniform. Even sa school, meron silang prescribed uniform, which is can be easily identified or it can be easily changed. So the third one, we have the frequent visit, place of visit. So a person maybe have a special desire or habit to be in a place if ever he has the opportunity to do so. So ano ba yung madalas na puntahan ng mga tao, di ba? Pag may free time sila. Halimbawa na dyan sa SM or yung mga makakilala natin mga tambay, saan ba sila mahilig magtambay? Kadalasan sa kanto or sa bilyaran. So yung mga place na yan, yung mga tinatawag na frequent place of visit, which is can easily change naman. So, huwag ka lang pumunta doon, okay? Yun na, can you change, diba? Can you change the habit of visiting that place? So, for example, meron pa tayong example. Halimbawa, for sari-sari store, or barber shop, coffee shop. Then, we have the beer gardens and recreation hall are common venues of visit of certain class of people. And a wanted criminal may suddenly prevent himself from going to the place he used to visit for the fear or for the caution that he may be apprehended. So the letter D natin is grade of professions. When we say grade of profession, example, a medical student of the upper clinical year may be recognized by the stethoscope. Then a graduate of or a student nurse may be her cup, di ba? Then a mechanics by his tools, a clergyman by his robe, and etc. So a change of grade or trade and vocations or professions may be resorted to as a mean of concealing identity. So the last one is the body ornamentations. When we say body ornamentation, we are referring to, example, earrings, necklace, rings, ano pa ba, pins, and etc. So usually worn by person may be points to identify a person from the rest. So next, we have the characteristic that may not be easily changed naman. So the first one, we have the mental memory. So when we say mental memory, a recollections of time, place, and events may be clue in identifications, remembering names, faces, and subjects of common interest may be initiated during the interview to see how knowledgeable a person is. So the second one is we have a speech. So a speech, a person may stammer, shatter, or shatter or lips. Then, however, if the manner of the talking is due to some physical defect like yung hair leaf or yung cliff valley that have been corrected by surgery, there may be a change in his manner of speech. So, the third one is gait. So when we say gait, it is refers to the manner of walking, or it may show the in some persons or in accounts of disease or some uh, unborn traits. So the third one is mannerism. So let's proceed with different forms of gait. So the first one we have the Atastic Gate. So when we say Atastic Gate, a gate in which the foot is raised high and thrown forward and brought down suddenly is seen in a person who is suffering from tabes dorsalis. And the next form of gait, we have the cerebellar gait. When we say cerebellar gait, it is a gait associated with staggering movement is seen in a cerebellar diseases. So the next one, we have the cow gait. So cow gait, it is the swaying movement due to a lack knee. So yung mga, when we say knock knee, ito yung mga pike. Tinatawag natin na mga pike. So we have the pharetic gait. Gait in which the steps are short and the feet are dragged and the legs are held more or less widely apart. So the next type of gait, we have the spastic gait. When we say spastic gait, it is a gait in which the legs are held together and move in a stiff manner and the toes is dragged. So the other one is Prestinating Gate. When we say Prestinating Gate, it is the involuntary movement in the short accelerating step. Then we have also frog gait. When we say frog gait, a hopping gait resulting from infantile paralysis. Then the last one, we have the waddling gait. When we say waddling gait, it is the exaggerated alterations of lateral trunk movement similar to the movement of a dog. So, why we study these different forms of gait? So take note that a scientific investigation of the gait patterns may be useful for the purpose of identifications and investigations of the crime scenes. And gait patterns is the series of footmarks by a person's walking or running. And examinations of the gait includes the direction line, the gait line, the foot angle, the principal angle, and also the length and the breadth of the step. So, first is the direction line. When we say direction line, it is the expresses the path of the individual. So, ito yan. This one yung nasa gitna na straight line. Ito yung tinatawag na direction line. Kasi ito yung nagsasabi kung saan yung direction ng step, kung saan patungo. Kaya tinatawag natin siyang direction line. So, the next one, we have the gate line. So, when we say gate line, the straight line connecting the center of the succeeding step, it is more or less in a zigzag fashion, especially when the legs are far apart while walking. Stout and elderly people and those who want stability while walking have more zigzag gate line. So, saan ba yung zigzag line natin dyan? Zigzag. So, this one, ito yung tinatawag natin na gate line. Yan, yung pa-zigzag na dot line na yan. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na gate line. So, next one, we have a foot line. When we say foot line, it is the longitudinal line drawn on each footmarks. This may be different in the foot line of the left and the right foot. So, saan ba si foot line? So, ito si foot line. Ito yung line na to from left foot. Then, ito naman sa right foot yung line na yan. Yan yung tinatawag, yung may C. Yan yung tinatawag natin na foot line. So, the next one is we have the foot angle. When we say foot angle, it is the angle formed by the foot line and the direction line. In normal walking, the foot angle is very characteristic of a person and cannot be altered immediately. However, it may be altered when a person is running, carrying a heavy weight, or moving on a strong terrain or rug terrain. So, saan ba yung foot angle natin? From at this point and at this point. So, ito yung foot angle natin. Yung parang may curve line. Yun yung tinatawag natin na foot angle. So, next we have the principal angle. So, when we say principal angle, it is the angle between the two succeeding foot angles. So, from left foot to a right foot. So, pagsamahin lang yan, yung distance nila, magsuot na ng curve. So, ito nang tinatawag natin na principal angle. Yan, yung distance or yung angle between the left foot and the right foot. So, next, we have the length of step when the distance between the center points in two successive heels prints of the 2 feet exceed 40 inches. There is a strong presumption that the person is running. So, nasaan ba yung length of step natin? So, if we are referring to the length from right foot to left foot, ito lang yung tinatawag natin na length of step. Pero pag between right foot to right foot, dito na. At this point and at this point, dito yung tinatawag natin na length of step. So, ibig sabihin, pag there is a changes or the 2 feet exceed 4 inches, yun nga, possibly or presumptions that a person is running. So next, we have the breadth of step. So it is the distance between the outer contour of two succeeding foot marks or step. The more apart the legs are while walking is the greater the width of the step. So, saan ba? This one, ito yung tinatawag, yung lawak between kay left foot into a right foot. Yan, yung lawak niya. Yung pagitan nila, ito yung tinatawag natin na width of a step. So, thank you and God bless. Hopefully, may natutunan kayo for our today discussions. So, thank you and God bless.